Hi everyone, I'm Rahul. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to be making weekly videos talking about comic books, video games, movies, and other things that I like. And this first video is going to be a review of the new James Gunn Superman movie. And I just want to say that I really like this movie a lot. By no means is it perfect, mind you, but it's a really solid and strong opening for the DCU. It might be the DCU's Iron Man equivalent in terms of like setting up a franchise, but I wouldn't say it's as good as Iron Man. Still, though, great movie. So, my initial reaction is that it felt like I was watching a live action episode of Justice League Unlimited. Like, there's a lot going on, for better or for worse, and it, it's a whole thing. Like, the story is a lot to take in, and I'm going to try to keep this video relatively short and spoiler free so that you guys can experience for yourselves why I think you should watch this movie. But again, let's get into some things that I want to talk about. Firstly, the actors. David Cornswet does such an excellent job as Superman. I think he really embodies the character. The way he cares so much about saving people and the way that he values life. And again, I'm basing this off of the trailer, so no spoilers. I found that to be really endearing. And the interview he had with Lois, again, in the trailer, no spoilers. I found that to be pretty good. It's actually a 12-minute long scene, but it doesn't really feel that long in the context of the movie. And I felt that Rachel Brosnahan, the actress who plays Lois Lane, had excellent chemistry with David Cornswet. And I felt that the dynamic should have been explored to a greater detail, but again, the movie kind of doesn't focus on it all that much, which is one of my gripes with it. But I'm willing to let that slide just for a little bit. Nicholas Holt absolutely kills it as Lex Luthor. He is such a hateable menace. He does so many despicable things throughout this movie that you cannot wait to see him get defeated. And they actually gave him a pretty good theme, like the in the musical score. It's very ominous and very foreboding. What I loved the most about this movie was Superman's characterization. Like I said, this is 180 degrees away from Man of Steel. This is a Superman who's a lot more hopeful, optimistic, bright, and vibrant. And you could see that in the way James Gunn made this movie because it felt like I was watching a comic book come to life. Even when the first trailer came out in December, the first thing I thought of was that it felt like a comic book. The way the colors just popped, everything was so vibrant. It felt like a treat to watch, even if the CGI was a bit spotty at times. One thing which was a bit confusing to me, and I think I'm the only person who's noticed this, is the suit. In some of the promotional material, the blue is a dark color, and in most of the movie, it's kind of a light blue, but in some shots, it looks dark blue, and in some other promotional material, it looks like the shade of blue which was on the DCAU Superman, which is kind of to an extent purple, and that confused me, but it's a great suit. The only thing holding it back from being like a 10 out of 10 perfect suit is the logo. Because, yeah, I get it, the Kingdom Come logo looks cool and all, but if this Superman gets the classic S shield, it's going to be the best Superman suit ever made. As for the humor, as you all know, this is a James Gunn movie, so there's going to be a lot of humor. Uh, some people might find it tiresome because there's a joke kind of forced into every scene. Okay, that's an exaggeration. It's not that bad. But the humor is not as bad as people are saying it is. Like, I get it. Yeah, there's a lot of jokes. I laughed at more than half of them, I'd say. It's not terrible. I don't mind it. It doesn't diminish the experience for me, in my opinion. Um, the Daily Planet cast did really good. I'm talking about Steve Lombard, Cat Grant, all of those characters. I just wish they got more screen time. And that's that ties into the main problem with this movie, which is that there's a lot going on. And I'm sure you would have heard other people say this too, but it's difficult for me to explain why that is without getting into spoilers. So that's all I'll say for now. As for the music, they reused the original John Williams theme. I don't mind that because it's an amazing theme, but like, it's kind of a bit lazy. It would be like if the new Harry Potter reboot coming next year reused the original movie theme, which by the way is also made by John Williams. Crypto was in the movie for a good amount, but it his like impact on the movie wasn't as bad as people might have thought it would have been due to his appearances in the trailers. Um, it's really enjoyable to watch him because he's like a typical dog in that he's very not obedient of Superman, and it leads to a lot of funny moments, but also is pretty entertaining to watch in the end. The runtime was just over 2 hours, and I felt that it was kind of short. When I got to the intermission point, in my mind, I was thinking, wait, really? The movie's halfway over already? And it goes by kind of quickly. It felt like I was watching X-Men 97. And if you guys have watched that show, you know that the show moves at a breakneck pace. Things just happen and they keep happening. I know that might be a bad thing, but I guess you could say that this movie doesn't really waste any time getting right into the middle of it. Um, there was a shot from the trailers of Superman like soaring above the clouds and standing, and he was having this like godlike pose. And when I saw it in the trailer, I didn't think much of it. I was like, wow, cool shot, whatever. When I saw it in the movie, I had literal goosebumps because that was when it fully set in for my mind that this is Superman. I was grinning like an idiot for multiple scenes throughout the movie, and I felt like a kid again. I know I'm not that old, but I felt like I was watching Avengers Endgame in theaters. Obviously, it's not that good of a movie compared to Endgame, but still, you get the point. As for the Justice Gang, they were good, but again, since there are kind of too many characters in this movie, they don't get much screen time. Mr. Terrific was great. So was Green Lantern. Hawkgirl was barely in the movie, save for a couple of scenes. But I think the best out of the three of them has to be Mr. Terrific because um, I'm not going to say what he does, but he plays a key role in the story. And there's a really cool thing that he does without getting into too many spoilers. Um, the scene where Superman goes back to Smallville. And again, I'm not spoiling anything because this was in the trailer. Um, when we get to meet his parents, Ma and Pa Kent, they feel the most human characters in this movie because everybody else is just like completely fantastical. And until we get to that point of the movie, it's not grounded in realism at all. There's a bunch of crazy comic booky stuff going on. But Ma and Pa Kent really humanized the movie, I think to a greater degree than Superman does, because I feel like the characters are really underrated. And the scene which Pa Kent shares with Clark, and again, this is in the trailer, I'm not spoiling anything. It was a really nice, emotional, and heartfelt scene. And when I listened to him say how proud he was of Superman, I almost cried. It was a really well acted scene, and James Gunn had the intelligence to not ruin it with a joke and instead let the emotion sit and build up. Um, the plot, like I said, is kind of all over the place. It's very contrived, and when scenes transition from one to another, you kind of have to piece together what happened. And it's like the movie is telling you, okay, we leave it up to your imagination for what happened for the end of this scene to create the beginning of the next scene. And that's kind of frustrating I was able to get most of it, but if you're not like well versed with the DC characters, you might find it a bit confusing. Um, One thing I want to note about the music though is that it was a completely missed opportunity for James Gunn not to include the Starman meme. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure you've all seen the meme, like Superman doing Superman stuff and the Starman song plays. There were two songs used in this movie. I forgot the name, but the fact that he didn't use Starman was kind of annoying because that song was made for Superman. Um, as a whole, I think this movie is great. You should watch it. I've been a lifelong Marvel fan, but if you ask me to choose between Superman and the Fantastic Four, I'm picking Superman because he is, without a doubt, he should be on like the Mount Rushmore of superheroes, along with Batman and Spider-Man. Whoever the last person is up to you. But anyway, um, I don't know if this movie will make $1 billion. I hope it does. One thing, this is a bit of a tangent. When I was in the theater, they showed the trailer for Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, and that movie looks great. Like, I am somewhat familiar with the story. I've read through some of the Iliad, and I know what happens in the Odyssey, but it looks great. I'm not gonna like be very particular about historical accuracy, but it just looks very entertaining. Anyway, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be doing weekly uploads, and for my next upload, I'm going to be doing a review of the deluxe edition of All Star Superman. I was able to get this during Prime Day, and I can't wait to because I'm aware of how much of an impact it had while making the movie because James Gunn has said so during multiple interviews. Anyway, oh wow, I've been going on for 30 minutes. I will leave you guys to it. At the end of the day, I just want you to watch the movie. It's a great movie. Um, and I'm really excited for where the DCU is going next. Thank you for your time, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.